We are back on Morning Line. Our guest with us is David Raybin, attorney here in town, and just a real education. We were just talking about the situation with truth in sentencing, but we've changed the font, very nicely done there, to Alabama escapees. You saw this case, and they remain at large, the correctional officer and the inmate, and it reminded you of another case.
Exactly. In 1983, Mary Evans, lawyer, prominent lawyer in Knoxville.
Okay.
She's assigned to represent a guy named Kirk. And she meets with him at the prison. And she comes from very well-to-do family. This guy, Kirk, who I've actually spoken to, and I'll tell you about that later. Very persuasive, charming man. Suddenly, she falls in love with him.
What was he in for? Was he a bad dude?
Oh, yeah, he was in for 3 robberies. He was doing time for murder.
Okay.
And so...
She's his lawyer, and he charms her.
He charms her. And she allowed, I don't want to get into all that, but, and then so she gets a gun. She then arranges for him to have a psychological evaluation.
Just like in Alabama.
This. So they go to the psychologist's office, and there's a guard there or two. She brings a gun. And she holds the gun on the guards and the doctor, and they make their escape. And so they're on the run for 4 months. Love on the Run. It's all over the news. It's a national story.
Just like
exactly
this one.
like this. Of course, she's a lawyer, but it's very similar to what's going on here.
Do you think they planned a lot out? Did she plan a route and an escape and everything, or do you think it was kind of an impromptu, I'm going to get you when you go to the doctor? Do you think they spent weeks planning?
They absolutely. When it all came out in court, they planned this because she had to get binders for the guards to hold them, take their keys and all this, weapons, money, everything, an escape route. So this thing was clearly planned over a period of time. And then she ran off with this guy, and they were 4.5 months. And they finally found them, the marshal's office found them in Florida, in a Western Union office. Somebody was wiring the money. And
so they had someone helping them.
Somebody helping them. They had run out of money.
They traced the money. Because and they were just hiding out somewhere in Florida.
They were hiding out in Florida.
Did they change their appearances?
Yes. She changed her appearance and everything.
Do you know how? Did she change her hair color?
Everything. But I mean, it was like, but he was not an unusual looking person. I mean, he had a big beard and long hair, and of course he got all of that. And they went to Florida. And there, you know, a lot of people come, it's a tourist place, people come and go and stuff, and they were just on the run. And everyone was looking for them. But this is in the days before the internet.
Yeah.
This is in the days before TV is everywhere 24/7. It's not like today where they have billboards and posters and things. Fascinating case. He was convicted. She was given, I think, 3 years in prison. She got out after 11 months.
Wow. Yeah, okay.
Okay. And the people who defended her was the law firm that she was clerking for at the time, a lawyer Bill in Knoxville.
What was her defense?
The defense was she pled guilty.
Okay.
She said her defense was sort of mental. I was just sort of overwhelmed. I became enamored with this guy and all this sort of stuff. Just hell of a good lawyer.
But it's probably true. They did not hurt anyone while on the run. They surrendered peacefully when they were captured.
Yeah, they did. They did. But I mean, this guy is a dangerous criminal.
Sure.
And years later, he called me up for me to represent him to try to get his sentence. They tried him in absentia. He was getting ready to be tried for something, and because it escaped, they tried him in absentia. They convicted him. And so he wanted me to represent him on a trial that he never was there for.
Did you take the case?
No. It was in East Tennessee, and I just said, really, there's nothing I can do for you. You know, I mean, I picked my cases. That was not one. That was one I didn't want to have anything to do with.
Fascinating, though. So what you know about that, and you look at this one, I know you probably don't know any more than I do from what we've read and followed with law enforcement, but in this case, kind of the same. This woman maybe fell for him. Now, her being not just, she wasn't a lawyer, but she was a corrections officer. She knew, she didn't have to pull a gun on anyone. She walked him out. So how much planning, and realistically, they ended up in Florida. They had to get someone to send them money. Sooner or later, they all have to recognize they're going to get caught. But in this case, I wonder, she had some money, she sold her house. What do you think? How realistic is it to say, all right, they're on a boat, or somehow they crossed over into Mexico and they could disappear there?
No, the Interpol will get them. I mean, absolutely. Eventually, they'll be apprehended, Or what might happen, they may get disaffected with one another, and he could kill her.
Sure.
That sort of thing. Like the.
But would you guess they're in the States right now, or do you think they're out of the States?
I'm not going to guess where they are. I mean, they're hiding out somewhere. I'm convinced that because she was a correctional officer of long standing, a lot of experience, they had an escape plan. They planned this out. They put money somewhere where they couldn't be. They'd taken their cell phones and tossed them away so they couldn't be traced electronically. I mean, it's kind of hard to hide a guy who's 6'9". Right. That sort of thing. But it is fascinating. Of course, the question is how could she fall for this guy? How could this guy be so persuasive as to convince someone to throw her career away, throw her life away, to run off with a guy like this? I mean, she's got to have some severe emotional problems for that, and he's got to be a very persuasive, charming person like this Kirk did to Mary Evans.
But realistically, if the sentence that Miss Evans got is something, let's say they catch him, okay? And you're right, she probably has some mental issues. Who knows what's going on? As long as they don't hurt anyone. I mean, does she get 4 years, 3 years for this escape?
I suggest that her sentence would be much higher than Mary Evans got back then. Mary Evans had a very wealthy family who helped her hire some really good lawyers. It's a different world now. We have this truth in sentencing thing. Right. She could be prosecuted in Alabama and given an accessory to an escape charge. They may have committed other crimes while they're on the run. The feds could come after them. They have no parole in that system. So she could be looking at a long time. And when they catch this guy, he's going to get locked up, you know, in the Stony Lonesome, like you say, for a very long time, and he'll be in maximum security wherever he is.
Give me your insight on this, though. Again, as you said, leaving the country, whether they were to go to Canada, I think more likely, if they tried to leave, they'd go across to Mexico. But when you say Interpol, look, I just think back to the Arthur March, Perry March thing, and you know, we all knew he took the kids down there, and Lawrence Levine, powerful man, well-known, friends with Al Gore. It still took a long time to get down there. I don't think the Mexican authorities are going to be bending over backwards to arrest these guys. They don't care.
Well, they do. They do. I think that there's a nice connection between the federal authorities, the federal investigators, and such. I mean, we're not talking about an innocuous crime here. We're talking about a crime of great notoriety. I don't think the Mexican people would want them to be down there.
Well, no, they wouldn't, but I don't know that they'll go out actively looking. Now, if they get picked up there and it comes across, you know, on the wire that, oh, yeah, this guy's wanted out of America, we'll take him back. But do you think they would actively be out there looking for him?
I'm sure that happens. I mean, there's a lot of people that try to cross into Mexico and trying to get away. I mean, they would have to have a lot of money and have a safe house already planned for them, because it's the acquisition of these things.
Right.
And I mean, you're not about going to the moon. In Canada, people talk about going to Canada. It's much worse for escaped people to go to Canada. They have much closer ties to the United States law enforcement than Mexico. I would suggest, if I were them, we can go to Mexico. I'd go to some place like Panama or Colombia or South America, someplace a good long way from the United States, because the farther away that you get from there, the less connections that we have. But they would have to have really good money stowed away and have a plan and all of this. But I mean, it is just a wacky thing that happened. He's going to eventually they'll get caught. This can't go on forever.
They're going to. It's so interesting when we've covered our share of escapes here. They always put in a lot of planning and thinking into getting out. And sometimes they come up with some ingenious ways, tunneling out or cutting through a fence, and they get out. But they never plan what they're going to do once they get out. This is different. The fact that this guy, 6'9", 270, is out there, I don't know how they disguise him. Some of us said maybe he's in a wheelchair and she's pushing him so he's not as tall. But it's been 10 years. I mean, I'm sorry, 10 days. And they had to have some planning in place. I even wonder if maybe that SUV found in Williamson County was planted. I mean, why would they drive up north like this anyway? You know, I mean, did she plant it there and just to throw them off?
Everybody goes to Franklin. You know? So, I mean, I don't know. That'd be the last
Maybe they're
place.
still around.
That'd be the last place, you know, that they'd want to go, unless they're holed up in some place with an accessory or someone like this. But clearly, she had to have a lot of money stowed away because you can't use credit cards in this day and age, cell phones and that sort of thing. But I mean, I wouldn't want to be in a hotel room with him.
Right.
You know.
At some point, when he realizes she's no longer a help to him, you worry that she's in danger either way.
She's in danger herself. Or what she may do, she may just say enough is enough and go turn herself in or that sort of thing, which would be the only smart thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had people call me who said, I'm on the run.
Yeah.
I'm an escapee. What should I do?
I know.
Okay. Every year or two, I get a call like that. My advice is always the same. You know, the DA will not negotiate with a fugitive. We come turn you in. I've surrendered people to the police and that sort of thing to the courts, and ask for some sort of mercy or mitigation that I've turned myself in. That's the only thing you can do.
She needs to. We got to wrap it up, but yeah, he has nothing to lose. So he's going to go down one way or the other in an ugly way because there's an end game. But with her, there's options. David.
Thank you so much for asking me.
Great show. What a pleasure. We'll talk again, my friend.
Thank you for asking me. I enjoyed it.
That was great. I'll take a break. Be back with a programming note right after this.